Well, of course, it's going to be a green one. This year, I'm going to probably be riding a KX 250F. Last couple of years, I've been riding a 450, and yeah, just trying to mix it up a little bit. My whole feeling of a motorcycle over the years, and actually anything, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And very first year I started riding for Kawasaki, had some, actually really didn't want to ride for them because it's like up till that point in the 80s up to 82, I mean, they seemed to always have problems with the, factory team guys would be at the nationals and they'd have weird things break, and 83 came along. It was the only bike I could find to ride, so it's like, well, I can usually make anything work. And sure enough, I mean, we were seasoned bikes left and right, and I always called it a one good season, you're good for the rest of the day, because it's season, you'd be able to keep on riding. And from there, I mean, it's transpired into, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And everything I've ridden that they've made so far since '83, I mean, it's been very, very durable, very, very strong. I've had opportunities to go ride for other companies and stuff, but might as well be loyal with what you got, and you ain't having a problem with it, just keep going with it. Well, basically, I'm kind of like a PR guy for them. I've been racing for them for so long that they know whatever I'm doing with my Kawasaki, they're getting a value for their dollar. I mean, it's not only just shop, answering questions to guys that got Kawasaki's and stuff, but winning races and just be willing to talk to anybody out there about them. I get 2 of them a year. I use one for the all the spring type races and stuff like that, and then the other one I use for going to 6 days. I always go to 6 days with a brand new motorcycle. Other than the Tulsa year, that was the first year I ever started my bike before I went to 6 days. Nowadays, I take a bike out of the crate, I build it, I put it in a crate, and I ship it over there. And when I get there, I start it. First thing I always do with my motorcycle, I take them all apart. I go through all of the suspension linkages, the steering stem, wheel bearings, pack them real good with grease, and highly recommended to anybody that's got a motorcycle. They get a brand new one, go through it. I mean, learn the bike right off the bat, grease everything, because they don't put much grease on stuff. And once you cut a sealing ring into like aluminum surface, you're not going to get near as much sealing after that. Where if you lube all that stuff from the get-go, you're going to have many, many, miles of no worries. And not only that, when you do repack it again, it's been lubricated, so it's not wore out like it would have been if you just take it out and go riding. Start front to back, steering stem, then you get into the linkage and the swing arm. Depending upon what brand you got and what kind of linkage you got, but I would take it all apart, grease it real good. Swing arm also, and if you want, take and grease the seals in the front wheel and the rear wheel. I mean, you'll take and change the specialty items, that you'd like to change. That if you're going to be running a different handlebar setup, different handguards, or handguards of any kind, chain guides. Most of the bikes nowadays come with narrow chain guides for the standard chain that they put on them. You put a wide chain on them. I've always put on a wider, heavier chain guide. The chains, we use RK chains. Chain guides, of course, we happen to make some here at Fredette Racing Products.
Handguards?
Actually, the handguards, I'm kind of getting out of that business. It was actually the first thing I did when I got into business, and I'm getting out of them. I'm going to start running the G2 stuff. They make a really good throttle cam assembly to throw down the, slow down the throttle response on all the bikes. I've been using that and kind of getting out of the handguard business. I just stick with generally it's a 200 is what I've been using on all my bikes. Works real good, and it slows it down. Especially riding a 450s, it worked out really good. I fought the system for the longest time. It's just like, there ain't no clutch that can work better than what I can do with my hand. And actually, my hands have been getting worse and worse, and the carpal tunnel stuff kept getting worse and worse. And I think we were up at Jack Pine last year, actually, and And I was going up to 6 days in Michigan from that, and they're like, here, you got to put one of these clutches in. It works so good. You know, guys, you know, you don't have near as bad a carpal tunnel problem afterwards. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll try it. You know, I won't ride a bike without one now. I've got the Core EXP. It's like cheating. I mean, there is nothing that you can do better than what that clutch can do, and it's, you know, you still got to keep it shifted into the right gear and stuff. You don't want to overload any gear that you're on, but you know, you keep it in the right gear, and there's nothing that clutch can't do. I run Pirellis anywhere I go. I'll run an XCMS anywhere I go. It doesn't matter if it's wet, dry, hard, soft. It's a system or a setup that works good everywhere. You know, I mean, in enduro, you've got so many different surfaces you're riding on. You know, this side of the creek might be one type of terrain, and the next side of the creek is a different kind of soil. You know, and that's a tire I can trust no matter where I go. You know what it's going to do all the time, and the wear and tear on the tire is minimal. I mean, it's a tire where, I mean, I wear those things to where they're almost nothing left to the tires, and people look at your tire and look like, when you get a new tire, you know, and it works so good, you know.
Well, you can change them in 4 minutes, right? So.
Right. Well, it's hard to find 4 minutes to change a tire, you know. So I just keep using the same thing. I switch between tubes and tire balls. Most of the time I run tire balls. I've been using more tubes when I know I'm going to be doing long rides. The tire balls work really good off-road applications and stuff, but still working on getting them work a little bit better on high-speed highway type stuff. But I mean, I toy between the two of them. Changing a tire is the same no matter what you got in it. You know, if you don't get the tire in the drop center, you're never going to change a tire. You know, and that's the biggest problem everybody has. You know, it's you got to keep everything, you know, it's just the basic concept of putting a tire on. If you're going to have it on the bead on one side, you're not going to get it on the bead on the opposite side of that same bead. You know, you got to get it in the shortest distance between 2 points is in the drop center where the spokes are. And you do that, you know, even change it with a mousse or tire balls or an inflated tube. You know, it's all the same. It's basic tire changing 101. Yeah, I do it all here. You know, the KLXs I was running, that thing was so good right out of the box, didn't do anything. But the KXs, you know, set up a little bit harder. You know, for the motocross type applications and stuff, I go in and soften everything up, and I've always over the years set my bike up really soft. I'd rather slow down for a big jump because I really don't like to jump anyway, or a G out, knowing that I'll have a nice flush suspension the rest of the day. Well, basically, I mean, it kind of got started back in the mid '80s with the handguard stuff. You know, I was kind of young and aggressive at the time, and you know, there was a handguard company out there, and I was just like, well, I can build a better mousetrap. So I made a little bit different design on them, and you know, pursued that. And once I started doing the handguard stuff, you know, being associated with Kawasaki, guys with KDXs and stuff would start calling, and all of a sudden it's more phone calls for questions about Kawasaki's than there was handguards. So it's like, oh well, you know, it's like, this is kind of neat, you know, and all the products I've ever made along the way, I've never really made anything just to make something look pretty. I've always made functional stuff. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, but if there was a problem with something, I started, you know, coming up with products and stuff to better the performance of the bike without a, you know, fault of it or malfunction. You know, and then I branched out into other brands, and you know, basically like the handguards and the chain guides and the wrenches and stuff are basically what I do. You know, I do a lot of service work on KDXs, which, I mean, they haven't been built since '06, but I mean, it's a steady flow of parts and stuff coming in to get fixed, and you know, I mean, I've got a lot of time and miles on KDXs, and I've built it off of that. You know, I mean, I've been basically every place that you can ride in the country, so I kind of can relate to what the guy's riding on. Well, basically, I mean, the ice race season is probably my biggest season here at the shop. It's a season now that, like this last year, it started in October, and it goes probably till the end of February. So I'm branching off into more things that are needed for that. I mean, there's no real good fender setups. You know, it's all stuff for the ice that you can't buy. You know, I mean, there's small little companies that are, you know, or not really even companies, little guys that are, you know, work at a machine shop. They'll make up some brackets to hold their stuff, but they generally don't branch out.